What's happening?
But
There's only a couple episodes left,
that's what I'm
Dave. What are
saying.
we gonna do?
Like, what's I feel like we're so many episodes in, yet nothing like we haven't moved forward. We could have moved further past this. Anyway, we'll discuss it on the podcast itself. Hey sports nerds, welcome to a Nerdie Bunch review of Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 9. My name's English Dave, and helping me figure out which socks are dirty and which are clean is my co-host Tim. What's up, Tim? Can you smell?
I don't want to smell anybody's socks. I'm good. What's up, Dave? Good to see you again.
I am good. Let's get into it straight away. Did you notice?
Oh yeah.
Did you notice the football is life shoes?
No.
Oh, you see,
Danny Rojas?
yeah, he was
Warren?
at the
Warren?
beginning of the episode. Get a close up of his boots, and it said "Football is life." I was like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's
No.
cool." Well,
Honestly, Dave, the Philadelphia 76ers last night blew game 6. Jason Tatum came out of nowhere after having such a terrible performance. Gonna be the scapegoat. He balls out, hits a couple of back-to-back threes. I was like, all right, Dave, I'm exhausted. I need to go to bed. I'm gonna go to work tomorrow and watch it after work. So I haven't really given it like a double dive, a deep dive. So this is just fresh feelings, instant reactions.
but
But
that's how I
you
like
nerdy
it.
sports audience know I'm 100% into the NBA playoffs, and there's not much else that matters to me at this point.
This is very true. This is very true. And but this is what I want. I want your raw reactions.
Yeah,
So I'm going to start you
I'm
off as always.
with you.
You know,
Mhm.
Coach Tim. So
Let's
we
go.
this context, right? We finished off last week's episode, with the tension of Isaac finding out about Colin, like what's gonna happen, Carrying on onto this episode, Isaac's acting strange around Colin, so Colin feels, it messes up with their game. Like
Mhm.
they've been playing very well. They had great practice rounds. We have more fans watching the practicing. But when it actually came to against the game of Brighton, Isaac is in his head, Colin is in his head, and then we get the fan saying the remark, and Isaac going crazy on the fan. As Coach Tim, how does that make you feel?
So this was a heavy sports episode. Heavy sports episode. Whether it's about a team that doesn't really have like a Zava anymore. Now, after the episode's over, they're on an 8-game winning streak. And then there's also another angle where it's like personal issues affecting on pitch performance, where Colin messes up with the pass and Isaac blasts him out. And it's not really about the pass. He was just, as they met later in the episode, he's upset that Colin didn't feel comfortable to share with him. And then Isaac was thinking about, well, is it because I'm too macho, or like, does he not feel comfortable with me? But no, it was about Colin. He was 99% sure you would be cool with it, but that 1% scared the shit out of him. And then there's the other angle of abusive fans feeling like just because they spent a little money to watch this team play, that they could say whatever they want. And that's why they get paid millions of dollars. No, they get paid millions of dollars because they're skillful and talented, and we care about it. If we didn't care, if we didn't pay the money to go see them, they wouldn't get paid that money. Back when baseball was founded, like, in the early 1900s, they had secondary jobs because they didn't get enough money. Now all of a sudden Steph Curry's making 45 million a year. That doesn't mean you should call him a fucking piece of shit and tell him that, like, his kid should die and his wife. Like, some of the things these fans say are insane. And
Hmm.
this is specifically about, Colin being gay and Isaac flipping out because of the word, the F word.
Which F word? Can't say fuck. No, the other F word.
They made it funny.
Fuck.
They made it funny.
No,
Jamie's turning into like Higgins with
right,
his
right.
like one-liners, little subtleties. Even just his exchange with Sam
Hmm.
about like who's going to be the captain now. They didn't even have to say anything, but then Sam's like, no, no, sorry, I'm the captain. And then he's like, oh yeah, I'm the captain. I got to say something. I love you all.
On three. I love you all. Which I thought was a little, as an aside, I think that's a little fake out because still think Jamie's going to end up being captain. But that
Sure.
was like a little narrative fake out. But again, we'll see how that goes. But let's go back to Colin and
Yeah,
Isaac's narrative. You know, you mentioned it. I liked how this turned out because there's also a fake out here, right? Thinking that Isaac is just mad that there's a gay member on his team, and is mostly, like you said, he's mostly mad at himself. I didn't make my friend comfortable enough to talk to me. Even though Colin later tells him that one of the reasons is because Isaac's bad at keeping secrets. But it's true. I like that because again, it's looking at self. Like, damn, I didn't. I am responsible to make my friend, my family, but people close to me feel comfortable to want to talk to me. You know, and what I like in connection, you know, what the story that Ted talks about. You know, when he says, "Oh, we don't care." It's like actually we do care. You know, it shouldn't just be dismissed. You don't care. Like not caring can also be bad. It's just we actually
yeah,
do care and we love you. And I like that aspect. And I also liked in connection when Roy's at the press conference with the story he tells. You know that everyone's just looking at because again people don't know the story, they don't know the context, and Roy's pretty much saying that's true. We never know what people are going through. We never know what people's lives are like, and sometimes it's not our business. You know, it's like it wasn't my fucking business, but doesn't mean people aren't going through tough times. And sometimes we see the end of how people react, but we don't see why they react. And sometimes we have to step back and realize that maybe there's more to this narrative than we know. You know, and I love that kind of juxtaposition to kind of show that with them asking, oh, why would Isaac react like that? You know,
yeah.
I thought that was kind of really, really well done. I think the way it was handled was so well done. Even though like Colin makes fun of Ted. Is like, did you just compare being gay to supporting
Being a
us?
Broncos fan. He made two heavy American references this episode, and none of
Right,
them hit. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not in America."
right. And I
I
love when he
understood
said,
the joke, but
what
yeah,
the joke he
yeah,
says when Colin says to Trent, "Oh, I've always known I was gay. Once I was out of my mom, I never looked back."
yes, that was the line. Once I
I
left that
love that.
vagina, we out, never again.
I never looked back. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But which brings me to before we go to the other narratives, brings me to one of my issues here, though. As much as I liked how they handled the resolution of Colin's narrative, I still think, as with my problems, like I mentioned with the season as a whole, I think we dragged our feet to get there. It felt like they knew how they wanted the story to start and how to end. Because you know when this storyline started in episode one, you know, we're in
Hmm.
episode nine
Hmm.
now. You and I thought they would take the time more to explore being gay in the world of sport,
Sure.
you know, and that narrative and I'm not saying that they should change the game and give us stuff that we've never seen before. I just think, and I think this is problematic with the season as a whole, not necessarily this storyline, is that we get a lot of intro to narrative moments and then quickly rushed and then we finish the narrative moment. You know, like we didn't really explore what it means for Colin to be gay in this team. It's kind of like, okay, we're good now, everything move on. I don't know if you feel the same way.
No, I do. I mean, I was trying to figure out. I'm like, okay, where are we going now? There's three
Mhm.
episodes left. There's so much more that needs to be tied up. We saw that Jack and Keely are broken up officially. Like, okay, cool. We already knew that.
They're heart bent, not heartbroken.
Yeah, yeah. We know that like Colin's comfortable with the team and the team's not going to share his secret and Trent's happy with Colin and proud of him and the team morale's pretty good. Okay, pretty solid. Like that could have been 10, 15 minutes. Rebecca had a nice moment where look, I love Rebecca as a whole from this season. She started off going straight at Zava while he was pissing in the urinal and being like, "Look, like I know how to speak to you. I know macho men. I know this world of sports. I know how to speak to Rupert, my ex-husband, who has a nice little episode as well. But now she's taking it to Roy and being like, "Look, Roy, like I see you opening up. Like we need to break through here. You're not comfortable with yourself. What is it?" And that gives him the ability to talk to Isaac. And Isaac and Roy are very similar,
Hmm.
but we didn't really go anywhere, you know?
Mm-mm.
Nothing big's happening. Like, okay, Ted and Michelle are in the same position. Like, I have no idea where it's going next episode. I know
Or
Richmond
even,
Football Club, they're on an 8-game win streak. They're killing it. The team has nice morale. The fans are happy. May is having a blast making money at the pub. It was a nice, joyful episode, but it didn't give us anything.
No. Well, like, because I think I was talking to a friend of mine before this podcast. I think one of the reasons is that this season has given us a lot of big emotional moments that haven't felt earned. They just happen. Like even the team went from like having this losing streak, and then it's like turn around. Now they're winning. You know, like we jump so quickly, we don't see the process of winning. It's just oh, they've already been winning. You know, like they've been losing, they've been winning, they've been losing, they've been winning. We don't see this like we don't see that gradual process of the team getting better, or even things like we set up Roy and Jamie to be the storyline to be like, Jamie, I can make you better than Zava. Where's that going? Zava's not there anymore. We're seeing Jamie grow as a person, sure, but
Sure.
we haven't been seeing any training. You know, we don't we haven't seen this arc of we don't even see Jamie and Roy. I thought we would have a storyline with the two of them together, right? Having this arc together, getting closer. We don't really spend much time with them outside of the joke of training a couple of episodes ago. You know,
Yeah.
or even and I don't want this to be a rant, but it's just frustrating.
No, they
You
still did the
mentioned what
whole joke this episode where Roy goes to Jamie while they're lifting weights, and he's like, "I'm
yeah.
done with my set." He's like, "No, you're gonna go until it hurts."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Okay, like you don't start counting until you can't do it." I'm like, I get that. I'm like,
Even jumping on that, one of our favorite characters of this show as a whole has been Trent. And
yes,
as much as I like happy, good Trent, it's almost narratively boring. And
sure.
Trent was more. I feel like Trent is just in the background for most of the season. He's just in the background taking notes. And like, okay, I get it, but like, give me something. He doesn't feel as involved. He was more involved when he was an antagonist, in a funny way. And now that like, yes, he had the moments where he was with Colin, but because Colin's narrative was like very sporadically delivered, Trent didn't have much time either. So it's like it's almost like they didn't know what to do with him. He just kind of hang out in the background, would give you a few lines here and there, you know.
Mhm.
But I just feel like for such a good character, such a prominent character, he's almost kind of been downplayed this season, you know,
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
has no story except for like he's writing his
Realistically,
book.
yeah, but realistically, a guy who's observing the team, writing a book, how much is he really gonna share? I think it's cool enough that he's in the Diamond Dogs, and as a gay man, he is relating to another gay man and helping him go through that process. As like an older gay guy talking to like probably a 21-year-old gay kid, like how do you handle this? How do you go through it? Understanding the world of sports a little bit and understanding that's going to be difficult for his team. I feel like I don't know what more like Jason Sudeikis could do in writing that character, or what else they could do. But I agree. I mean, he's one of my favorite characters. I definitely cheer for him, and I enjoy his presence. I like
But
his little smirks, but it's not
it's almost
much.
like you
Yeah,
could. I feel like if you took him out of a lot of episodes, it wouldn't change much, which is unfortunate for such a
no,
character that's so good. You
not the
know,
plot
it's
line.
almost like you that's what I'm saying. It's almost like you're wasting him, like because he's
Sure.
good. It's not, you know. It's like I get this whole thing of yes, it makes sense that someone writing a book would be in the background, but then I ask the question: then why are we writing a book? Like for the
Sure.
audience entertainment, like why is this a storyline that you had written down saying, oh, he's going to write a book? You know, because
Yeah.
it's not. I thought him writing the book would bring out some dramatic tension, right? You do things in narratives for dramatic tension, like everyone's like, oh shit, we can't say these things around him, which they kind of started doing, but they
They
kind of
did.
just let it go, you know, and they just kind of
Yeah.
left it. And again, like I said, if Colin's narrative was had more into it, you could have given Trent more. Like I like the idea of Trent working with Colin and helping him out and understanding both sides of the world, like the inside over the outside, how the press works. I mean, you know, you could have almost had Trent be the inside guy to the press, the world of the press, because you don't really outside of the press conferences, we don't really get the press perspective on the team, right? We just have the conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We don't really see.
That was also a
Sorry.
really weird part of the episode for me. Like,
Yeah,
their jokes about like who's the best lead guitarist and all this stuff, and I'm like, was that
but like, what is
necessary
this for?
For Coach Beard to like flip out just for us to know that Roy is now comfortable doing press conferences? Like that's kind of what we got from it.
one
It
hundred
was
percent agree with
weird.
you.
Their approach, and like Rebecca was proud to like answer any questions, and she answered the question a little weird. It's like, oh, you chose the guy from Cream? Like, why? I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, that's not that funny, or I don't know. That
No,
didn't work for me.
I agree with you, and that's what I think. we've spoken about the longer episodes this season. I think sometimes it
Sure.
almost feels like they have to fill in the time. Like, oh shit, we still have 10 more minutes. Let's do something. And even like story, I thought we're going to, you mentioned at the beginning, I thought we were going to get a proper narrative with this Rebecca, with Roy, but
Sure.
it really wasn't. It didn't like, was that necessary? Like it wasn't a thing. It just
Hmm.
ultimately led to Roy, taking the press conference. Yeah, but I thought we'd get a whole episode with Roy realizing I have to step up. I've got to do this and do that. We kind of just jump across things. And talking about jumping, let's go to Nate and Jade.
Yeah.
I love them as a couple. I think they're a great couple. My only issue is now again with the context of we only have a few episodes left. It's almost as if the writers, and again, I'm just making this up. I have nothing. I don't know anything. Are like, oh, how do we make the audience like Nate again? Because again, Nate betrayed our trust. He betrayed the team. He ripped the sign. Let's not forget what he did.
Of course.
And it's almost like, oh, let's make up for it by making him fall in love.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great for him and his love life. I'm happy for him. But he still did that shit. It was still, that doesn't address any of it. And it says, it almost feels like it's a shortcut. Let's make Nate fall in love. Let's feel good. We don't even, I don't even know. As much as I like Jade and I Jade for him, I don't know Jade outside of the context of Nate's girlfriend. Who is she?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
did she not? Why did she not like him before? Why does she like him now? What changed outside of a means to make us be happy for
Hmm.
Nate? You know?
Hmm. Yeah. And I was also thinking this episode, what are we ever going to see that guy from the boat from Amsterdam, with Rebecca? I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah,
probably gone. But she just
yeah,
had such a fierceness to her this episode. I was like, that's probably a big result from what happened with that guy.
yes,
But yeah,
yes,
going
hundred
back to
percent.
Jade and Nate, um, of course, I mean, every episode we talk about Nate, I always think back to, when our first episode, and Raven was like blasting about how much we hate Nate, and she was
Yeah, yeah,
so passionate about it.
yeah,
But we all agreed. Trust me, they wrote it perfectly. Like we hate Nate now, no problem. Nothing he could do will bring us back into his good graces. But now we're seeing the reasons why. And we like that he stood up to Rupert, kinda, but Rupert was still like creepy throughout this episode, where he was almost like hitting on Jade, and like
mhm.
it's
Yeah. I thought I
funny
could
that
see
he
that.
forgets every
You mean
girl's name. It's like, okay,
Kate?
here's this other guy. Yeah, I'm like, Kate, sure, whatever. And he swaps the two models, but he's like, okay, Nate's in a decent relationship with a nice girl. Let me bring him back to my dark side. It's going to be a boys' night. We're going to go to the private room with two supermodels and two bottles of champagne. And he's like, you know what? No, sorry. I'm not for that. And he goes back to Jade's apartment and gets that warm, embracing hug. But I agree. I would like to know more about Jade's character development. What's she about? What did she think Nate? What did she think of Nate? When she was just observing him, looking at him like a patron at the restaurant. I want to know more.
Yeah, because it seemed like you got the feeling previous seasons she actually just didn't like him. Like previous seasons, if you told us that she's gonna be Nate's girlfriend, it would have been like, no, no way. Not because of she's out of his league or anything, that kind of narrative. More because like, no, it's clearly she doesn't like him. So then what happened that she now likes him like this? That to the point where she's the one making the first moves, right? She's the one that set the relationship status. She's the one that's more confident in relationship as opposed to him trying to woo her. He got things very quickly. And again, it almost seems you mentioned about, and again, I'm looking at this purely from a narrative point of view,
I
right?
gotcha. I'm
Uh,
following.
it almost seems like Rupert feels like a cartoon character villain, right? Let's make him a villain. Like let's do a boys' night, not because because it's like, okay, does Rupert want to get with Jade or does he hate their relationship? Like, what is he thinking? I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
know. He's just evil villain
Yeah.
so that Nate looks better. It's like, okay, yeah, he stood up to Rupert, but did he though, or did he just say, I'm going back to my girlfriend? Standing up to Rupert will be in the context of his work, his job. Rupert will say, do this. And even then, nothing Nate has done has shown us that he's making up for what he did to the team. we haven't seen. It's like me punching you in the face, and instead of saying sorry to you, I'm just like, but look, I'm in love, I'm getting married. I'm like, okay, that's great. I still punched you in the face. I
Yeah.
didn't address that. you know oh, but look at me now, I'm a nice guy. My boss is meaner than me. Okay, but I still punched you in the face, and that's got nothing to do with that. And again, if they told us we had one more season, I could understand. It's just that we're not seeing any strides to Nate feeling like, damn, I fucked up. I did this thing to this team. It's more anything in negative he sees about fucking up. It's like, oh shit, the Diamond Dogs were better than
Mhm.
the Love Hounds.
Yeah.
Like he
And
tries to recreate.
he's looking at the newspaper article or probably online of Isaac, getting in the fan's face, and it's like
Yeah.
madness, McAdoo, like is losing it, and it's like, okay, but what is he thinking? I want him to talk
Mm-hmm,
to Jade about this stuff. That's what I
mm-hmm.
need. And yeah,
Yes,
maybe there's three
yes.
more episodes, but I want that like emotional conversation. He's in the bed with her. They wake up, and he's like, by the way, like here's how I feel about Richmond. Here's how I feel about Ted, and I miss the guys and Rupert. But you know
I
what?
feel
Maybe that's
bad.
what's next. Like now, they're gonna talk. Maybe she's gonna ask him some questions about. So what happened
Mm-hmm,
with guys' night? It's obviously
mm-hmm,
wrong. She did ask that question, like kind of like, oh, I guess it didn't work out. But maybe next episode they wake up and have that conversation.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
I
must.
agree. I
It's
agree.
needed.
I think, yeah. I think in that context, it can work. It can work for me in terms of. I think part of the problem is we jump so much time. We go from it's been like episode 2 is 3 months after episode 1, and then we jump. Oh, they've had an 8 game winning streak. We've gone through in terms of the show itself. Probably like towards the end of the season now, the football season. In 9 episodes,
Oh, they have to be.
and
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. And so there's a lot that we've skipped along the way
Sure.
that I wish we could have seen in the fact that you gave us longer episodes. I
Sure.
think we could have seen. I think there was a lot of filler that was unnecessary. It's like even this season, what are they? It's almost like they don't know what they want to do with Sam. It's like, is Sam a main
Sure.
character or is he not?
Yeah.
It's like we're going back and forth.
So much.
What's his storyline?
How's the
Like
restaurant? Is the restaurant cooking?
is that a thing? And then,
Yeah.
like you said, where are they going with the whole Jack and Keeley storyline? We only got a few episodes left. Like, what was the overall point of that? Like we just there's a lot of little things that they introduced this season
Sure.
without closing out a lot of the narratives from previous seasons. So you
Yeah.
have to do so much
Yeah.
in one. And I wish there was more of a balance with where that was, because I think a lot of things get
Yeah.
lost in the shuffle. They try to do a lot of things, and again, some of these complaints can be fixed in the next few episodes.
Sure.
I just still think some things won't be fully fixed, because it's again like things like, okay, what was the point of the Zava storyline outside of fun humor for us? It didn't bring any tension to them. It didn't change the team. The team didn't getting up in arms with each other because of Zava. It was like he was there, he did his thing, and then left. Move along. You can almost skip some Zava episodes and kind of get the gist of what it is. And it's like, okay, where are they heading with Rebecca's storyline? Like
It's a great point.
again, I'm not sure.
Uh,
I'm not sure where some of these things. Again, I'm only complaining because I'm comparing it to itself, right?
no,
To
like
what season
so.
one and two.
So if I asked you like, what's your favorite album of all time, like musically, you're gonna probably
Yeah, yeah,
pick an
yeah, yeah,
album that has like no skips, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
banger
yeah.
after
Exactly.
banger after banger. So it's like this.
Mm-hmm,
Like if there are episodes that aren't really relevant, aren't tying things together, and some girl was like, "Hey, I want to catch up on Ted Lasso. Like, what do you think I should watch?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's so great. You can't miss any episodes." That's just not the case. Like for me, like I think it was last season, like that hallucination episode where Coach Beard,
mm-hmm,
I know you loved it from a cinematic perspective, but kind of like nothing really happened timeline with that. The Zava
mm-hmm,
timeline, kind of a waste. Like there's a lot of waste in such an amazing show. And it's like being critical about like Steph Curry or LeBron James. Like, yeah, all right,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
they are amazing, and this is a great show, but we're going to be critical because we love it so much.
mm-hmm. And we know how well you can deliver.
There you go.
Right. It's like if
Yeah,
you're not delivering the amount of points I saw you delivering last game,
exactly.
and this game you're not coming close. Like, yeah, I've seen you shooting so many more points. What's
Exactly.
going on?
Yeah,
Like we used to praise the show for not wasting time and not
yeah.
treading the water. And then the
This
season feels
season,
like a lot of
right.
water treading.
And like this was
Like
only
oh
43 minutes, yet like it was kind of empty. I didn't
yeah, it
stop that
was.
much. I don't have a ton of
Yeah.
notes. Like I take a
No,
lot of
no.
notes. That's just who I am. Like
Yeah.
it's not
Mhm,
that much. Like there's something here. There's a nice couple of funny lines. I love like when Coach Beard's opening up, and he's talking about men on grass, and he says, "I haven't
mhm.
seen 22 men have this much fun on grass since I saw the Grateful Dead jamming out with black crows and fish." It's like it was a mess, but they had a lot of fun. It's like that was a funny line, but like story development wise, kind of a dead.
Mhm, mhm. Every single one of you knows my ass isn't hairy,
Yes.
and yet none of you spoke up. I'll never forgive you.
And Isaac was actually like, damn, he's right. We're pussies. I'm like, whoa. But I'm like, all right, getting into the men's locker room. Yeah, we do see each other's asses and cocks and all
Yeah,
that. And then at the end, when they're playing FIFA, he's like,
yeah. Asking
Isaac's
the
like,
question.
it's like, how do you like not get a boner? He's like, I just stare down and think about global warming. And he's like, dang,
Who's the fittest in the room?
like, I bet you can't guess.
Now, again, some of these conversations, again, it just felt like it was good to have. I liked it, but you could have really spent a whole episode with just the two of them.
Yeah,
The team dynamic. It's almost like the team finds out, oh, what if Isaac's gay? Oh shit! Well, like things happen very quickly. There was no. Again, I get it. They're trying to make the happy thing, but sometimes dramatic tension is entertaining. That's what we like to watch. We want to see them have that tension and then overcome that tension. I think sometimes it's like the beginning of the season. Like I said, they had beats they wanted to hit, but rather than build our way to those beats, it's like let's quickly go there. Let's quickly go. Oh, what would it be like if we threw in a superstar into the team? Okay, cool, but we don't really see what it felt
yeah.
like. They just threw the superstar in and came out. The superstar didn't come in and disrupt the team. The team has to find themselves. Like, no, he just came. They loved him, and he left. And they were sad, and they were like, okay, cool, let's figure it out. It's like, and again, I say this more. I think I would have had less issues with some of these things if this was season 2 of 3, but this is season 3 of 3. We should be coming in to a
Yeah.
close. Why is Ted still making jokes like he still doesn't understand football? You've been a coach for how many seasons now? Like, I get it was funny season 1, but season 3, you shouldn't be
Yeah.
making the same type of, oh, what's that mean? Kind of jokes.
Especially
Like,
after he had that episode and he figured out total football and he started reading the
right, right.
books. Like, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
Like, you should,
I love the my friend being a Broncos fan, and watching his shitty
yeah, I love that
team
story.
win. Oh, such a shitty team win back to back Super Bowls. I'm like, yeah, I love it. But like Chiefs country, look, those who aren't American football fans, the Chiefs and Broncos, it's like Manchester United, Man City. It's a good rivalry. You can't
Yeah, yeah.
like these fans care a lot, especially the Chiefs. They are wild.
Mm. Um, let's talk about some of our favorite moments. Any other favorite moments that you liked in this episode?
I,
Just funny,
honestly,
funny.
just Jamie saying "poope," you know, just solid. He's like just "poope,"
The poope.
ignore it.
It's just ignore it. It's just poope.
And I was like, we shouldn't have ignored it. It's like, what if one of us was gay? We shouldn't have to deal with this shit. And he's just like, like I'm glad we got that, like the rage and the tension and like the Colin and Isaac like finally dealing with it. And for me, this was an episode about what players have to deal with fans and
Mhm,
their craziness. Like, I get it, you're passionate. Maybe you hate your life, like, and work sucks, and like, your family has issues, and this is what you love. But like, why do you feel the need to like belittle people? Like, it's just insane.
mhm,
Or like, it brings
mhm,
it brings up with the basketball term. Last year, the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors played in the finals. Great matchup. The Warriors won, but Boston fans are like racist and rioting. And like Draymond Green is a rioter. He's this anxious, tensious, like just he's a fighter. He's a brat
mhm,
on the court. Like people hate him. He's a guy that you love when he's on your team, hate when you're facing him. So the fans get into
mhm,
it too, and they're yelling "fuck you, Draymond." But then, like as I'm watching the game, they scroll over to Draymond Green's family and his little son. Like here's a little son watching his dad perform on a big stage while 50,000 fans are saying "fuck you, Draymond." Like that's not far off
mhm,
from what happened with Isaac today. On their way back to the
Mhm.
locker room, fans like to throw stuff at them, and then we go crazy when like the Malice in the Palace happens, and Ron Artest is swinging haymakers in Indiana, like or
Mm.
Detroit, which I don't know if they were on the road or not. They were probably on the road, but anyway, it's like those crazy moments
Mhm.
capitalize how wild you fanatics are. And that's why when I'm
Mhm.
having sports debates with people, like even though if I talk about my teams, I mean they're all over the place, but I try to be rational, but I realize most fans are literally fanatics and they're just like crazy and they're
Mhm.
very delusional and tunnel visioned and they have
Mhm.
the horse blinders on and they're not really focused on what's actually happening. They're just like, what do I want to happen and why the refs are ruining the game. And I like that Ted Lasso show like brings up real life sports stuff in a funny way and a serious way at the same time. But I need a little bit more in these last three episodes. I can't believe I'm saying it. I want a little less football and a little bit more like
Mhm.
conversational dialogue.
Mhm. It's funny they brought up about the fans. That could have been a season long arc because the season starts off with Richmond not doing very
Sure.
well, right? And things like that. We could have had a big arc of how the fans are treating the team, that kind of turnaround, right? How fans can love you 1 minute and then hate you the next minute, and that could have been a big season long arc in itself, in terms of looking at behind the scenes of the sport. Because again, we spend a lot of time. I don't. Again, I'm not trying to shit on it, but like the whole Michelle and Dr. Jack storyline, like I
Yes.
get it, but like it didn't. It could have just been like Michelle's dating someone
Yeah.
else. That's it. And they just because at the end of the day, it's just about how Ted feels about his
Yeah.
ex-wife moving on. That's
Why
all it is.
did why did he have
It
to
didn't
have the
need to be his
meeting?
therapist.
Why did he have to have this parent
Yeah.
teacher meeting with Michelle over like, oh, he's feeling
Right.
signs like Henry, poor Henry. It's like, all right,
Like, was it necessary that it had to be the therapist that she got with? Like, does it make a difference if she's just dating another guy?
yeah,
Like in terms of the overall narrative, you take that out and just make it she's dating someone else. Ted will still feel like, ah, shit, she's moving on without me. Ted will still feel, oh shit, there's another man in Henry's life. It didn't need to specifically be the
it's definitely a
therapist,
little nastier
unless,
though. It's a little
yeah,
nastier.
it is
But yeah, of course.
100%. But in terms of on paper, it's 100% nastier if that's the story we're focusing on. But the story we've been given now wouldn't be different
Hmm.
emotionally if we were just if because again, us the audience, we don't know context, we're just told what we're told. If we had no idea, we just told Michelle is with someone else, and that person could be a threat in terms of the fatherhood of Ted, in terms of his son Henry, we would still feel like, damn, that sucks. You're miles away from your wife, your ex-wife, and your son, and this other person is now in the picture. I can understand how you
Hmm.
feel. Making it the therapist doesn't add anything new to the story because we didn't spend time with Ted and the therapist, so we don't feel betrayed. Like
That's
in that
true.
sense, it,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it just feels like we're just again, it almost feels like a mandate, like, oh, episodes have to be 40 minutes to an hour. Let's put something in. And then it seems like Michelle, like, again, we have 2 minutes, 2 episodes left. Are we going to go back to that storyline? What other storyline are we going to like? I think something's going to have to give. We can't close
Yeah.
everything out. That's the problem. They've added too much, and I was like, oh shit. A couple episodes left. Let's cram it all in there as much as we can. Will it feel satisfactory? Again, I'm not saying it
No,
won't.
but I'm
Like
sure
once,
they planned out the whole season already. They know the story arc.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
I don't think they're gonna drop the ball here.
Again, there's a lot that I think they want to do
Hmm.
for the next 2 episodes, and I'm curious to see how it's done without feeling like, ta-da, it's finished, it's fixed. Instead of, because sometimes again, the process of fixing is what's entertaining.
Yeah,
If I want to see that team get better. I don't want them to already be better. I want to see how that relationship builds. I don't want it already built. And I think we spend a lot of time with, oh look, it's broken. Oh look, it's fixed. Oh look, we didn't even, how long did it take them to figure out the new tactic,
yeah.
the
It was like half a
the
match.
football.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we're perfect at it. Great team. Like, we're doing a lot
8
of
games
shortcuts.
later. Yeah, they started the season off hot, and then they had a
Yeah,
really bad slump, and now they're hot again.
yeah,
They're definitely at least like 25 matches in. There can't be more than
100%.
like 10 matches left.
yeah, 100%. And that's why I'm like, wow, I wanted to see the drama of the season. We skipped a lot of the tension of the drama.
Yeah.
Like, we never got. I don't. If I remember, I could be misremembering, but I don't think we ever got one episode where it was just about one game. Right? It was like there'd
No,
be one
you're
game, but there'd
right.
be like three games,
You're right. At first,
in
I
an
thought it was
episode.
cool, but now it's very just
Yeah,
rushed. Yeah,
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 just
that's true.
rushing through it.
Well, this episode kind of was just about that one match, kind of. I mean,
I know,
what's
but yeah, I guess.
it
But
was
we
the
started with
closest.
eight. It was like, oh, we've had an 8 game streak. I was like, oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But we didn't really spend time on the game itself, right? It's the aftermath of the game,
Yeah, no, they
right?
skipped everything. They just showed
Yeah,
the bad pass, the slide, the corner kick.
yeah.
Van Dam
And then
being
there's,
Van Dam. Jamie's like, great job, man. It's like, no, it's Van Dam. I'm like, all right, we get it. Like, you don't need to carry this along.
like what, like we're dragging that
Yeah,
joke on. It's not
I
funny
did like
anymore.
the little champagne glasses, though.
I did
The
like that.
pub
We
is
ran out of.
going so well right now. She's crushing it. She's like, give me
She
my
ran out of pint
money.
glasses.
She's like, sorry, you
I
ran
was
out
like,
of like pint glasses. Sorry. And then the
and
good guy is like, oh, it actually tastes a little better.
all right, and wouldn't you have loved to have seen how Colin became man of the match? It just like told, oh, he set up 2 goals, man of the match. I would love to have seen those setup
Yeah,
goals. That would have been great, things
yeah.
like that. But again, I'm being overly critical because I love the show and I'm just curious to see how they will end it.
Mhm.
I just also one last critic I will say about this season. Outside of this podcast, I didn't feel like I was in a rush to watch each episode. I feel like this season's a season that you could have binged in one go, and
Fair.
maybe it's better. It didn't feel like next week, another week, a week, like today's episode. Like you said, you
Yeah,
didn't take much notes because it's like each outside of a few episodes, each episode didn't stand on its own ground where you felt like I must rush to watch it right away to see what happens. It's almost like if we weren't doing this podcast, I would have been fine waiting until the season ends and just watching all the episodes in like a weekend,
yeah, yeah.
as opposed to week. Again,
No.
that's just another nitpick from before.
I was thinking a couple weeks ago. I mainly, especially right now, it's pretty much just sports for me. I watch Survivor, The Challenge, and Ted Lasso. And Survivor and
Love
The
it.
Challenge are pretty much like sports. Let's be honest. But so
I mean, it is tests of
yeah,
athleticism in parts.
it's like competition and all that
Yeah,
and drama.
yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of like the NBA. So Ted Lasso for me is that like one show. But yeah, without the podcast, I don't know how excited I would be. I definitely have loved the season as a whole tremendously. I really think season
Mm.
three is good. I overall kind of like the longer episodes. I think this was by far the biggest dud. It was just a little empty, and there's a lot of things like I kind of like that they don't show certain things, but then like the whole episode is about Colin telling the team I'm gay and how do you guys respond? And literally they don't even show any of that. And I was like,
No,
do
exactly.
I like
Skip.
do I like that? Do I not like that? I was a little like, I'm not sure how I feel about this right after that scene. But I'm like, okay, that's what they
Mm,
do. And then they did it again, like you're saying. Oh, Colin, man of the match, new skin, like new man, like how great is it? And like we
mm.
didn't see any of it. They didn't show us anything.
I we haven't really seen Colin play because they even mentioned like, oh, he was sub for the beginning of the season because of Zava, and now he's back on and he's the man of the match. I'm like, damn, we didn't. I wish this. And again, I like the fact that we don't. We've already established that this show doesn't show us full games and stuff, but it has shown us moments from the games. And I'd love to see them winning games. We just like, oh, and they won 8 games in a row. And they're like, who scored? I don't know. How many goals scored? I don't know. They just won all the
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
Like we just kind of skipping past the fun parts. And again, I would love to have seen just a visual of because I think Colin sets up Isaac for no, he didn't set Isaac for a goal, but I'd love to
mm,
see like teamwork, like Colin and the team working together. I would love to see more
yeah,
of total football in action.
yeah,
Outside
sure,
of practice, we don't
yeah,
see it in practice.
yeah, yeah.
you know,
A lot more good
things like
passing,
that.
for sure.
Right?
Whether the fans get it or not. Really, the only like cool football moments on pitch was Zav highlights when it was like
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
like winning, winning, winning. It was like Zava scores
Hmm.
every way. The Spider-Man kick, the bicycle kick. Yeah,
Hmm.
I could do it all. But
Like,
outside of
like
that,
at least with this 8 game win, give us highlights of the team winning. Again, we don't need whole games. I would have loved to see highlight reel like we saw Zava, like the team winning. Oh, Jamie scoring. Oh, this guy Isaac scoring. Everyone just who's the top
Yeah,
scorer? I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Maybe that takes a
like
lot of time, editing and
yeah,
whatnot,
it's
and
true. It's true.
we have to
I mean,
figure
I
out
can
like
imagine,
placement in the background. Like that's why I feel like,
but
from a sports fan's perspective, watching any sports show, it's like you always see like that wouldn't realistically happen, but the director didn't know, so he wasn't gonna like nitpick
mm,
and be like, by the way, like four defenders shouldn't be on the left side. Like just saying, like,
yeah, yeah,
the basket is here. Why are you over here? Like that stuff
mm.
like that. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I completely get you. But then again, when it comes to expense, they have the Apple money. Expense shouldn't be an issue.
No?
You got the Apple money.
Right? What other show is carrying Apple?
Right.
Honestly,
I mean,
baseball
they.
and Apple's kind of a waste. Like, Apple's not
Yeah.
doing much.
On that note, what do you nerdies think of this season so far? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it everything in between? And does it feel like a final season? I don't feel finality. I feel like there's another season coming, but they've told us it's a final season. So does it feel like a final season to you? Let us know all your thoughts at the Nerdy Bunch. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Dave.
My name's English Dave, and this has been a Nerdy Bunch review of Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 9. Only a few episodes left. And as always, Tim,
Keep it nerdy.
peace.